Over the takeover, the Caitlin Clark takeover continues as Caitlin Clark has incredible news ahead of the start of this WNBA season. And we also
a head coach doesn't just evaporate in the middle of an international tournament. In the world of elite sports, coaches don't ghost their own bench without something seismic shifting behind the scenes. Yet, that is precisely the drama that unfolded with Kara Lawson, the Team USA head coach, during the FIBA World Cup qualifying tournament in Puerto Rico. The basketball world watched in confusion as Lawson, specifically after her controversial management of superstar Caitlin Clark, simply vanished. With 3 games remaining on the schedule, the clipboard was suddenly in the hands of Nate Tibbetts, head coach of the Phoenix Mercury. What changed? What transpired in those high-stakes locker room meetings or the quiet conversations in the front office? Was this a case of professional friction? Or did Kara Lawson actively try to sabotage
in the Oklahoma City Thunder? Caitlin Clark takeover continues. I mean, why not? We got Stephanie White going and doing NCAA announcements and all types of stuff. She's not even focused on
the most electric player in the game today. The plan heading into Puerto Rico seemed clear, if not baffling. Caitlin Clark, the most significant draw in women's basketball, was relegated to the bench. She didn't start in 4 out of the 5 games. Records that had stood for decades were dismantled in 40 minutes. You would assume a coach's response would be to elevate that player to the starting 5. Instead, Lawson put her right back on the pine for the next game. The offensive philosophy in those opening rounds was deliberate, almost agonizingly slow. We saw heavy half-court sets and veterans dominating the ball, the pace of a team that wasn't interested in running anyone off the floor. There was a specific ideology at play here. Stephanie White, the Indiana Fever head coach and a Team USA assistant, has been vocal about her desire for Clark to play a controlled, off-ball style. White's vision is for Clark to
Sophie Cunningham back. Here it says, while the 29-year-old veteran only spent the 2025 season with the Fever and missed a solid chunk of games with an injury, she did many things to endear herself to Indiana's loyal fan base.
Into a pre-existing system rather than being the system itself. The result? A grinding offense where Clark rotated in and out. The team was winning, but the spark was missing. Imagine having a player who just rewrote the record book sitting on your bench while your offense moves at half speed. Your starting guards are burning 20 seconds off the shot clock before a shot even goes up, while your most elite transition decision maker is watching from the sidelines. That isn't just a coaching philosophy, it's a puzzle where the pieces don't fit. Caitlin Clark's game is built on
mean the Indiana Fever don't value Sophie Cunningham. This does not mean she won't be back. Okay, let's get into it. Why the Fever are unlikely to protect Sophie Cunningham in the WNBA expansion draft. Here it says the Indiana Fever face an unforgiving situation regarding Sophie Cunningham's future. All right. And shout out to Grant Young, Robin Lundberg.
Pace and instantaneous reads. She processes the floor 2 seconds ahead of the defense. When you force her to slow down, you don't just limit her individual production, you degrade the entire offensive unit. It allows defenses to set up, get comfortable, and take away passing lanes. The early box scores proved it. Team USA was functional, but they were never explosive. Then came the game against Puerto Rico. Clark's minutes were slashed even further. Puerto Rico deployed a box-and-one defense.
Fever would have the same opportunity to retain her. Okay. Here it says, since Cunningham most likely won't be cored by the Fever, she could also leave Indiana in free agency, even if they decide to protect her. This means the Fever would be protecting somebody.
A scheme entirely dedicated to erasing her from the court. It worked, not because Clark lacked the talent to beat it, but because the offensive structure around her offered no counters. The team looked paralyzed. Fans were livid and commentators were calling it out in real time. Everyone saw the failure except, apparently, the coaching staff. Despite being buried in the rotation and facing a defense designed to stop only her, the data didn't lie. When Lawson sat at the post-game microphone, a reporter asked point-blank about Clark's role. Lawson pivoted. She spoke in generalities about everyone shining, refusing to mention the records, the minutes, or the lack of production. She wouldn't even say Clark's name. Then, without warning, Kara Lawson stopped showing up. Game 3 tipped off, and there stood Nate Tibbetts in a Team USA polo. No press release from USA Basketball. No personal reasons announcement. No scheduling conflict explanation. Lawson was just gone. Tibbetts, whose primary job is leading the Phoenix Mercury
with the team and would surely be selected if unprotected. If Michaela Timpson's unprotected, she's going to get picked. Okay, one optimistic potential outcome is that neither expansion team selects her. They can select one unrestricted free agent after all, and Cunningham then decides to return to the...
Had no official role with the national team prior to this. Coaches don't just stumble onto an international sideline because there's a vacant chair. A phone call was made. Someone in the upper echelons of USA basketball decided a change was mandatory. The silence from the organization was deafening, usually a sign that the truth is something they'd rather not go on the record about. The internet quickly connected the dots. Lawson vanished immediately after the Puerto Rico disaster and that icy press conference. The Caitlin Clark situation had evolved from a coaching preference into a national PR crisis. USA Basketball likely realized that the mismanagement of their biggest star was becoming a brand...
You were never going to give her that on the open market anyway, so you would lose her regardless. If you keep Sophie Cunningham, not core her, but if you protect her in the expansion draft, she still hits the market as a free agent. And if someone offers her a max contract,
damaging liability heading into the World Cup cycle. The shift was instantaneous. In his very first game, Tibbetts did the one thing Lawson refused to do. He started Caitlin Clark. The result? Opponent, New Zealand. Outcome, USA wins by 55 points. Clark's line, 23 minutes, 14 points, 6 assists and 0 turnovers. The offense was unrecognizable. Gone was the sluggish half-court grind. In its place was a high-octane, transition-heavy system. The pace was faster, the spacing was pristine, and the ball moved with purpose. This wasn't a case of players suddenly getting better. It was a case of the system finally matching
the ratification process where basically the players vote, they voted unanimously, they approved it, they're like, let's get it done, let's get it done. Now it goes back over to the owner side. They do the same thing, and I would assume that in the next 48 hours...
Talent. Tibbetts didn't dodge the media either. He was direct about his approach. Guard-heavy lineups featuring Clark, Kelsey Plum, and Paige Buchers. He spoke about Clark like a coach who actually understood her value, a stark contrast to the previous regime. By the time the tournament wrapped up, the narrative had completely shifted. Clark was starting, playing the most minutes on the team, and the Americans were winning games by 30 to 50 points. The MVP race was over before it started. Consider the final tally, 14 FIBA world records in 7 days. And remember, she spent the majority of the first half of the tournament on the bench. At just 22 years old, Caitlin Clark became...
But at this point in time, in the WNBA, this is a transformational... I'm rambling. This is the biggest CBA that they've ever seen. This is the most money that they've ever seen. I'm not budging on that. The Tom Brady example doesn't work. But with that...
Youngest player in FIBA qualifying history to win the Most Valuable Player award. She led the team in points, assists, 2-point percentage, free throws, plus-minus, and efficiency. Again, she did this while being a backup for a significant portion of the run. It begs the question, what would those stats look like if she had been the starter from day one? This wasn't just about points and assists. Clark's presence moved the needle on global ratings and sponsorship valuations. As the WNBA prepares to negotiate its next collective bargaining agreement, Clark's international market value has been officially documented. No one can pretend her appeal is limited to the United States anymore. For fans of the Indiana...
I've seen some discourse online about media voting for these awards because, as you guys know, like it's a mix of people who are chosen to vote for these specific awards. And with
the Fever, this tournament provided a crucial, if not concerning, preview. Stephanie White, who will be coaching Clark in Indiana in 2026, was on that bench in Puerto Rico. She watched firsthand as the slow off-ball philosophy struggled.
Social media. There were a lot of people, including me, saying like this is a really cool moment because this is a moment where a coach is truly believing in her player. Like the minute your coach stops yelling at you is the minute that they stop caring. Like you can see the passion, you can see her.
The pace and space system thrived. The results were not subtle. The coaching change was essentially an admission of guilt by USA Basketball. They saw the problem, they realized the fans and analysts were right, and they made a move. Kara Lawson is out. 14 world records are in the books. And the youngest MVP in history is just getting started. As we look toward the 2026 season in Indiana, the blueprint for success has been laid bare. Don't try to make Caitlin Clark fit the system. Let her be the system. What do you think? Did Kara Lawson intentionally try to sabotage Caitlin Clark's international debut, or was it just a massive coaching mismatch? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit those notifications so you stay caught up on all the latest hoops drama. Click the video on the screen now and we'll see you in the next one.